Hey, good morning, everyone. Eric Rosen, your astrologer for today, dropping in for a daily horoscope for Wednesday, December 16th of 2020. Thanks so much for being here. Let's get rolling. We're going to pull up the screen share. I'm going to go to astro.com today. I'm just felt like using something a little bit different instead of the usual app I use, which is Astro Gold. But if you're really into reading astrology, I highly recommend it. So check it out, guys. I just did about a 30-minute video yesterday on kind of the overview of this solar eclipse that we just had on Monday in Sagittarius, as well as like there's this build up to Saturn and Jupiter meeting in Aquarius. But I wanted to pop in today too to kind of give a daily horoscope, but also um, kind of calling this chart reading, one more week basically until this meetup and a little bit less because it actually happens, I believe on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. And then also wanted to dive a little bit deeper into Saturn, which is actually going to exit Capricorn and ingress into Aquarius later tonight, 11 o'clock Central Time. So let's see what we got cooking today. So first things first, moon placements. The moon moves fast. Our emotions change. Things fluctuate throughout the day, and so trying to find, a sense of stability, by feeling good or feeling comfortable today could be a little bit elusive because it is in Capricorn, and so it is going to bring up, hey, are you getting the work done? And so the work doesn't have to so much like come from this place of like, well, I've got to keep doing what I've always been doing. I think this moon with this final pass here, where the moon's actually going to come right on top of Jupiter and Saturn, like right before it leaves, that it's like, hey, like, yes, let's put in the work, but like, let's also finalize our plans to how we're going to innovate our reality of the work that we do, like going forward. And so I think this is anything. This doesn't matter if you're, a teacher, a coach, an entrepreneur, solopreneur, a team member, someone who works, in an office setting, a construction setting, like whatever it is. I mean, if you're essentially like walking this path of wanting to be more conscious about your day, this is about seeing like how you can actually start to thrive by really focusing on the service first, really being giving. We perpetuate that teaching in spiritual circles anyway, but this is where the astrology actually supports that narrative for more of a collective effort of people getting on board to be like, hey, are you really putting the service first? Are you putting your connection to God first? Creator, spirit, whatever you identify with. Some people get triggered by the G word. I don't, but it's like highlighting where it's like we're moving into the future, guys. And I think these last transits in Capricorn are saying that this isn't some type of I hate to get PC, but these, just to use the words like socialist stuff or, where it's just like gifted to you or given to you. It's like, yeah, Jupiter at the end of Capricorn does deliver the gifts at the end, but for the work, and so there's still like where we're still going to have like the traditional power schematics with Pluto that's still going to be left in Capricorn of like, you still have to put in the work, you still have to, earn your keep, and then you receive the freedom and the abundance that's coming, and getting front row seats in some capacity to dare I say like scientific inventions, but I think they're ones that are very much like tied to our spiritual gifts, whether that's the mind, telepathy, to be honest, like those things become available for people working at higher capacities. But across the whole spectrum, this is basically just saying like, okay, where can you really come up with solutions in your life? Like you're not stuck anymore with Saturn moving into Aquarius, where Saturn's like, okay, like I'm here to help you be disciplined and restrict to looking at the future. It's like kind of forcing us to not look so much in the past with the Neptune and Pisces. especially as it was making a challenge to the solar eclipse that just happened. And so it's like the new story like really has to be about bringing in more of a higher vibe spiritual one, a more compassionate one, compassion for the past and compassion and non-judgment for whatever is occurring in your day-to-day life of, and in your environment with the North Node in Gemini, and just that curiosity, that flexibility to keep moving forward, to keep moving into the future, and see that it's like it's identifying with this new narrative of where it's not your ego that's steering the ship anymore. It's not that. Like the action orientation is very much coming from, knowing your true sense of your power, that's connected to like I know deep down like how to get things done. And that I think that deep knowing of how to get things done is to say, okay, there's some things I can't just punt in life in terms of my responsibilities and the structures in my life, but I do have to be willing to move forward and innovate and think in a new way. And I would say the thinking is the higher mind way. Um, I have an experience where it's like we can focus sometimes on where energy is moving in our body, right? We focus on our mind's attention where it's going, and so it's noticing where some lately. Uh, Paying attention to this morning, in fact, where it's like, where's the energy more around this lower part of my head, which is more of like the lower thinking mind, not to shame Mercury, but it's like where it's like you're using it to overanalyze things and weight too many big facts about the experience of life and like where's it going with it being in Sag? It's not its favorite place to be there. But going with the more higher mind aspect of Uranus and Taurus, where it's like, oh, move the energy like up here to more like that crown area, and say, oh, what are the steps that I can take? Who are the partnerships that I connect with? What are the steps in the projects? And what self-worth, what talent do I need to call on now? And receiving that information from that spirit source energy is supposed to trying to configure it all in like a map of like, okay, how do I go conquer this adventure that you can't even like see where it's going yet because you're actually writing it and trying to draw the map of like, oh, these are all my different things that make me worthy, and these are my talents, and these are the things that I can do. How can I like, blend all that together in like one ball and just like, throw it at every moving target, every obstacle that comes through. And it doesn't really work like that. It's more about, hey, let your guides help you, let source energy help you and get that input of like, you'll just know when you tune into that moment, you're slowing down and paying attention. I think Uranus and Taurus, with Uranus being the last planet retrograde now, aside from Chiron, well, Chiron did go direct. So even though Chiron's an asteroid, but it's like, it's showing us where, you know, slowing down is not a bad thing. Like the rest is a good thing. The rest is good. It's good for your central nervous system. It allows you to reflect on what are your values, what are your values that are changing in life, and how you can make sure that you're not unconsciously going into that old story of living too fast in the moment to where it's pulling from old unconscious stories of like, well, this is how I feel successful in life, whether that's, you know, my body's got to look this way, or I got to feel this level of comfort, or I have to check things off of a to-do list or whatever. There's so much in the astrology that's more suggestive about, you know, breaking those shackles of things feeling like work or a to-do list and just honoring the desires going forward. You know, that truth won't change. So Venus is in Sagittarius. It just came out of Scorpio. And so it's like, yeah, we want to go connect, you know, and have fun in the partnerships. But it's also showing, got to remember Scorpio, where Venus just came from, which was Scorpio, where it's like making sure that I got the lesson of identifying with, are you showing up in the powerful partnerships, and are you going to go have fun and have a jovial experience with those partnerships that you trust and that are in alignment with your power. When Venus came to the end of Scorpio, it was making friendly aspects over to Saturn and Jupiter. And so I think that's where it was showing us. It's like, hey, like, you and your powerful partnerships really can build the world together, but you've got to be willing to do the work and put in the experience with them and connect with them and laugh with them and have fun with them. That it's not about like going back to the old crowd. Like, I want to stress that it's like, as Saturn Jupiter heading into Aquarius, it's like, yeah, it's about tribe, but it's like, let the new story like take hold of like the tribe that you're creating from knowing your sense of power and your self-worth, as opposed to like trying to go back and celebrate like with old people. And it just like, it gets awkward. I don't know why I'm getting a vision of like, it's like the end of Days to Confuse when the keg runs out and like they the keg's out and they like put the cup on top of the keg and the little bit of beer at the bottom of their cup pours out. It's kind of like that feeling of like, that, what was it, a Leonard Skinner song maybe playing at the end, like near, near, near. I'll probably just botch that really bad, but it's like, it's just kind of like that winding down feeling and like the party's over and, you know, there's no conflict with, you look at how did that movie end, it was like that core group of friends, that really got along the best and were also all in their own power, that went and hung out together afterwards and went and celebrated on the football field and smoked a joint on the 50-yard line, and celebrated. I mean, it was basically, all the ones that had a sense of confidence, that knew their worth, that, I mean, even the dorky guy like was embodying like who he is and not trying to be someone different, you know. But they all clicked was the important thing. They all knew what they brought to the table. Like he brought the weed, like, you know, Wooderson brought the wisdom of like, being older, Pink brought, that more suave, like confident like thing. And, the support of his queen, his lady, even though he like cheated on her in that movie. But, these analogies can't be perfect. But point is that they left everybody else behind. Everybody else left. They didn't invite anybody else. They didn't try to go hang out with them or hook up with them or do anything like that. They just, and then what did they do? They like stayed up all night. They got in trouble together, which is a metaphor for learning lessons. And then they went on like the most amazing road trip. Might even been to Texas. I don't even remember where they were going to buy concert tickets. And so that's the funny thing. It's like we can't go to concerts right now, but it's like with all this astrology, it's like, where are you putting in the building blocks to like build your own futuristic concert that's innovating, and I would say that it is feeling a little bit more tribal, like, hey, you're accepted here, you can come here, you're safe here, you can retreat here, that it's coming to grow and honor new traditions and honor the earth with Uranus and Taurus and do all these amazing things, as opposed to like going and finding like an old party. It's like the astrology is just not there for that. The astrology is there for building blocks towards a new future. Like we're not going back to the, 2010 era of all that Sagittarius energy when things were like party like and we went out and had fun. I could go on and on about how, that astrology is different, but it's like, you know, taking care of yourself right now with Ceres and Pisces is like the compassion still to do the work. It's like the deepest like love with God to be like, do you love yourself enough to do this work? And having that connection with God, even in moments where, you know, it may feel kind of dark with we're on the last day of Saturn and Capricorn for 3 years, so it's like, get the final lessons now. And I think a lot of the final lessons are the integration of like how we feel about our accomplishments in our life, our work life, and being open to receiving that, receiving your power, receiving for your self worth, and claiming. your bounty. You know, Capricorn is zodiac of receiving. Juno at the end of Scorpio. It's like, yeah, all the ideal partnerships, as I mentioned, they're the ones that are on the divine path with you. It's it's people that just know their power, that know their worth, that know how to get things done. And there's not a lot about like physical comfort, but it's like, so Venus reminds me of like a Cardi B a little bit when it comes through Scorpio, where it's like knowing she's a bad bitch and knowing her worth and just cleaning up and making this money and hustling and doing whatever she does. But it doesn't mean that she didn't have to go through like some like rougher, like edgy energy to like get to where she was. I don't know her life story, but that's like kind of the understanding that it's like you go through the hard stuff, then like you feel the self-worth and reward. So this is it. This is basically just kind of highlighting this week. I mean, Chiron direct, it's like the wound can feel a little bit more like outward now, where it's like maybe people understand you a little bit more. Maybe it creates more empathy with your situation, but also like kind of like a pat on the back, like, hey man, like let's go. Or hey, hey lady, let's go. Like we can keep moving forward. Like I think this is where we can all realize that we've all felt a little bit victimized by our circumstances, but we can keep moving. And knowing that when this moon enters into Aquarius, that it's not so much about like disconnecting emotionally, that it is more about how do you triumph from everything that you've learned. And the triumph comes in kind of being like, it's almost like having the fist up, like when the fight's over, like, okay, I'm ready, like I'm ready to go. And it's like, but then there's nothing else to fight. It's kind of like a Bruce Lee energy of like, take a bow for yourself and a bow to spirit. Like you've done the work, you've mastered it. You don't need a stunt double anymore. You don't need a fall guy anymore to blame for, your ego's wounds of how you want things to look. Be that disciplined martial artist that, you know, is the star of his films, and no one can like take him on, and take that feeling into Aquarius that way when it's like you have no idea what's coming. Like that's the way to feel with, you know, Saturn and the moon moving into Aquarius. So, all right, that's it. It's Monday. I just said Monday. It's obviously Wednesday. It's early for me. But love you all. I'll pop in as I've desired to. These help me get through my day. And so hopefully it helps you get through yours as well. Keep doing the light work. Love you all. Take care.